Hello, my name's Nicola. I'm the spokesperson for a local recycling campaign which is based in Northern Ireland called Keep Recycling Local. Basically, it is a campaign which was established by local businesses and other organisations, and our aim is to see positive changes in the way that recyclables are collected in Northern Ireland to ensure that the recyclable materials we collect here can stay here, be reprocessed here and add to the economy here. All of this is intended to aid Northern Ireland's circular economy, which is really quite small at the moment. Obviously, this will help local businesses and jobs, and also obviously to benefit the environment. And how we think we should be doing that is by separating our key recyclable materials before collection to avoid contamination and, as I've said, to maximise the reprocessing capacity within Northern Ireland. This slide just shows some of our members. Encirc is a large bottling factory. Enva is a factory which makes cullet, obviously for remelt to make into the bottles. Bryson Recycling collects recyclables separately. And we also have supporters from other businesses, as you see there, such as British Glass, Friends of the Earth, Ulster Wildlife, etc., all of whom want to see more recycling staying in Northern Ireland. Our problem here in Northern Ireland is that currently the majority of Northern Ireland's councils collect recyclables together. They have one bin, everything goes in the one bin, and that severely contaminates the materials that can stay here. All of that means that every year we're exporting over 91,000 tonnes of recyclables around the globe, and at the same time local companies are having to import clean virgin recyclables. So we're in the silly situation where we've got one ship bringing recyclables in to be used and one ship going out taking the recyclables that we can't use because they are contaminated. And obviously all of this is a massive cost to business, to the Northern Ireland economy and to the environment. And Invest Northern Ireland reckoned in 2019 that recycling locally generated over £100 million for the Northern Ireland economy, and we think there's potential for this figure to be much, much more than that. In Northern Ireland, I'm just going to give you a bit of background about the policy context at the moment. Recycling is a key council service. There are 11 district councils in Northern Ireland, and each one of those councils can set its own recycling policy. Everybody in Northern Ireland gets a curbside collection from home, so there are municipal sites where you can take bigger stuff, but basically everybody gets a weekly collection of something in Northern Ireland. Waste management accounts for 4% of all of our current emissions, but that figure is quite misleading because it excludes all the transportation costs, etc. We do have a Climate Change Act in Northern Ireland with extremely challenging targets. We are to meet net zero by 2050 with a 47% reduction by 2030 and 70% waste to be recycled by 2030. Incredibly challenging. There is no way we're going to get there without making significant changes. One of the ways that we can make a change is to move to a single waste strategy across the whole of Northern Ireland. Northern Ireland is not big. We're only a population of 1.6 million people. We have 11 councils and we have 11 different ways of doing things. And we think that things would be much better if it was all done in the same way. This would obviously improve the overall recycling quantity and quality. It would ensure that maximum value is extracted from the materials and ensure that materials are kept in use for as long as possible. We also think that this should apply not just to domestic waste, but also waste coming from businesses. And all of this would help us move towards a better circular economy. So the three-step solution basically is to collect key materials separately: paper and cardboard, glass, and other things such as plastic cans and foil. Glass is the main one. Keeping glass out will ensure that the glass can be reused and that the glass isn't contaminating anything else. We want to change key legislation to incentivise local processing over export. At the moment, there are incentives that really encourage councils to keep glass into the collections. It helps them meet their targets. And of course, once the glass is mixed with the other recyclables, that means it has to be exported. So we would like to see quality rather than quantity being the main incentive. and obviously to make information on end destinations more publicly available. The public are up for this, they're keen to do it, but they want to know that it's worth their while. This just shows a picture of the current situation. You see a blue bin, a black bin and a brown bin. The blue bin, that's where all the recyclables go in the majority of council areas, the paper, the cardboard, the glass. Landfill, everything else, the residual waste goes into the black bin, and in the brown bin is garden waste and food waste. Generally across Northern Ireland, each of these bins is collected fortnightly. The pictures showing how we could do it are out of a recent Northern Ireland government consultation paper from the Department of the Environment and Agriculture. They want to move to a single waste strategy across Northern Ireland, and those were some examples of how it can be done. There have been people saying that this will lead to 6 bins outside everyone's home. That's not necessarily the case. Bins can be divided, bins can be stacked, etc. And we do think that it is the way that everything's going. The opponents to introducing any change and to keeping co-mingling say people won't be able to do it. They just want to chuck everything in the same bin. It's handy, it's easy, they know what to do, and away it goes. But 20 years ago we didn't have 3 bins. Everything just went in the black bin, everything went to landfill. People were able to see the reason for change, and they were able to change. Then they were able to change to put their garden waste and their food waste in a separate bin. They understood why. It's easily done. Obviously we understand that this isn't going to be possible across every single citizen in Northern Ireland. There are obviously different challenges in relation to apartment blocks, homes of mass occupation, inner city, etc. But we have a really, really good example in Wales. Wales would be very similar to Northern Ireland in terms of city density, town density, in terms of the rurality of it. Wales have managed to turn themselves into the second best recyclers in the whole world. And they have separate stream recycling. So that is what we want to model our new system on, because we have evidence that it can be done. Northern Ireland is doing well in terms of the overall recycling, but not all recycling is recycling. What we want to see is closed loop recycling, where the glass can stay in the economy and stay in use forever. Glass is the perfect thing to be recycled. It can be used, it can be collected, it can be turned into cullet, it can be remelted, it can be made into a glass box, another glass bottle forever and ever. That's not what the so-called recycling figures show. The UK is exporting glass for remelt. That should be staying in Northern Ireland. They're also exporting glass that's used for glass wool. They're glass that's being used for making roads, etc. Yes, the glass is being recycled, but the majority of it is being recycled, and it reaches the end of its natural life. And then we have to start again with the recipe, with the sand, with the water, with the high energy emissions. Our local glass company reckons that for every additional 10% of cullet it gets, it saves 5% on its emissions. So if nothing else, that's important, and it also saves a lot of money as well. Basically, if we move to separate streams, it would mean that over 80% of our recyclables could stay in Northern Ireland versus the current 10% from the co-mingled collections. There would be significant savings in down the line for Northern Irish councils. Better quality recyclate can obviously be sold for more. It would significantly support local businesses and provide secure jobs. Obviously, it would lower carbon emissions. And obviously stop the global export of poorly sorted recyclables. It is a terrible state of affairs that virtually none of the glass collected in our blue co-mingled bins can be recycled locally because it's just not good enough quality. It all has to be exported. So in brief, the end destinations of dry recycling, that's not the glass. With 3-stream recycling, over 80% of those recyclates could stay in Northern Ireland versus the less than 20% at the moment that we have with the majority of co-mingled recycling. In glass, it's even more stark. Three-stream recycling, 100% could stay in Northern Ireland, whereas at the moment it's virtually none. And it is worth noting that British Glass figures, which came out recently, only 35.6% of the total glass placed in the UK market is recycled back for remelt into cullet for new glass in the UK. So in conclusion, our goals, as I've said, the introduction of a single stream recycling system across Northern Ireland, particularly to keep the glass separate, to support the need for better public awareness and education. We know that there's public support for this. We've done polls, we've done surveys, and people are up for it. They're prepared to do it if they know that the recyclates are staying here, if they know it's going to help the Northern Ireland economy, and if they know it's not all just going to get dumped or exported. We also believe that any exemptions to any new system should be time limited and required to show progress being made towards compliance. We don't want a three-stream collection system being brought in and then various councils saying, we will do it, we're working towards it. That could just last forever. We would like to see it being time limited. Obviously, there are potential barriers to this. As I've said, we have 11 local councils, all of which do different things. A single strategy could take away their local control, which is understandable. There would be significant cost implications up front, but again, that can be overcome. We're not expecting a big bang. We're not expecting this to happen overnight. This can be built in as plant needs to change and as processes need to change. Contracts can be changed, but ultimately, it is the way that the world is going. We need to keep our recyclates here. We need to use them in Northern Ireland because our economy needs it. There are other very well established business models which don't want to see us moving to three-stream recycling. Their business models are very much based on the co-mingled, collect it in, take out what they can, i.e. the 20% to stay here, and ship the rest off for waste to energy. Communication to the public and buy-in. The public are prepared to change if they know why they're doing it, and obviously it does require legislative change.